9 episodes, over 3,000 VFX shots, some in black and white, practical effects, CGI, men with plates on sticks, wire removal, CG paint brushes, and Vision with a blue face. Yes, WandaVision had a bucket load of awesome VFX. WandaVision had the perfect marriage of practical and visual effects, that is. A marriage that both helped speed up the post-production process and also gave the episodes a more authentic feel. As each episode is set in a different lighting, practical and, of course, visual effects, or rather invisible VFX, all had to seem as though they belonged and were created within that era. So in general, they did as much as they could practically, using the same techniques that would have been used in the era the episode was set in. This included props that were puppeteered with wires and poles or even held out on sticks by puppeteers. After that, the VFX team would remove the wires and poles and, depending on the director's requirements, add more CG props mimicking the puppeteered motion, like, for example, this paintbrush. But before we go painting with colour, there were some issues to deal with in the first episode, as it was set in black and white. Now, before you go thinking that black and white is easy because you just shoot in black and white or change the colour in post-production, and yes, you can do that quite easily, but there are a few things that make it not so simple as it may seem.
How do you mean?
Well, Wanda, you see, the colour of your hubby here isn't actually red.
What?
Yeah, he's actually blue. You see, different colours respond differently when seen in black and white. The colour red actually shows up very dark in black and white, and the team found that a lot of Vision's expressions were being lost or were difficult to read, so they did a lot of colour and sheen tests, searching for the right combination, and ended up painting his face a metallic blue instead of red. The kitchen set was also painted a light blue tone so as not to appear too dominant in the shot. Then, in episode 2, we get to see the transition into colour. The transition of black and white into colour was an effect that would have been quite hard to do back in the day, so they had to think up a way to make it still not look out of place with what was possible at the time. They achieved this by splitting the film into 3 separate colour channels, blue, red and green, and warping and layering them so that they could be seen, simulating something that kind of looks like it would have been possible back in the 60s with an optical printer. This is what gave them the colour bloom effect. Then, to really sell the effect of being old and dated, they added these little stars. Digitally, of course, but animated in a similar way to how they would have been physically hand-drawn onto the film back in the 60s. This method gave them that 1960s aesthetic for an effect that probably would have otherwise been a bit too difficult to pull off with the equipment available at the time. And finally, staying true to era continued throughout all the visual effects. For example, the look of the hex that Wanda creates around Westview was created by studying how old cathode ray tube television sets reacted to a magnet, and then reproducing the patterns produced by the magnetic field digitally, adding layers of glitches and phosphor patterns to create a procedural effect that could be changed and evolve throughout the show. Please give us a like if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget the links to the music used in the video are in the video description. And as always, be sure to let us know in the comment section which movie VFX you'd like to see behind next.